Maddie. Meanwhile, to another alert. At least 3 cargo ships have been hit by Iranian gunfires in those small little fast boats in the Strait of Hormuz, and it happened this morning.
Meanwhile, President Trump has extended his ceasefire deadline, citing a fractured regime. And Matt Finn is live in Islamabad, Pakistan, with the latest for us. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Ainsley. There is supposed to be a ceasefire, but we are getting these reports of 3 separate ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz this morning. The third cargo ship, the most recent, reportedly has been attacked while attempting to transit the strait. It may have a Panama flag on it. And earlier, the British military reported one of its ships was attacked as well. We don't have the confirmed attacker, but, Iran is suspected here. And here in Pakistan, both the president and the Pakistani prime minister have left it open-ended, the possibility of peace talks happening here. We saw how touch and go it was over the past couple of days. There was the possibility of peace talks happening today, and that obviously did not happen. Our White House producer, Pat Ward, says any further updates about in-person meetings on Iran will be announced by the White House. The president has given us some recent updates, writing on Truth. Iran is collapsing financially. They want the Strait of Hormuz opened immediately, starving for cash, losing $500 million a day, military and police complaining that they are not getting paid SOS. The president also writing, Iran doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz closed. They want it open so they can make $500 million a day, which is therefore what they are losing if it's closed. They only say they want it closed because I have it totally blockaded. So they merely want to save face. People approached me 4 days ago saying, sir, Iran wants to open up the strait immediately, but if we do that, there can never be a deal with Iran unless we blow up the rest of their country, their leaders included President Donald J. Trump. Now, also happening today, the UK and France are hosting discussions with 30 other countries about plans to open the Strait of Hormuz. I did an interview with the head of the European Ship Association, and they say that some of these companies are losing millions of dollars a day. So the UK and Europe is very pressed to get that strait open right now. Back to you guys in New York.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt. It's amazing what's happening right now because we're victims of our own success, killing so many leaders, military leaders, as well as political leaders. They now have a rivalry playing out in real time in front of us between the political wing of the party, evil, but the really evil, military first, the IRGC, they're battling with each other in order to get a unified mission. And up until the last minute, I understand that it looked like they were all set to get on a plane and go to Pakistan. They got word. The Pakistani said the Iranians going to show up. And at the last minute, they said the Iran's not going to send any delegation. So we pulled back and we held off. And the president said, we could probably go. He's probably thinking I could go back to the fight. But I think they should at least come back to us either a state of belligerence, let's bring it on, or a state of, here's my, this is what I'd like to do, Ainsley.
Well, the president was tweeting about this on Truth Social, talking about how much money they're losing. They're losing $500 million a day with the strait being closed. So we want to dismantle the nuclear program in Iran. Until they give us that enriched uranium and agree to dismantle, then we'll continue to keep that strait closed, and they will continue to lose money, and we will bleed them dry, and we'll continue that economic pressure. But, Lawrence, the problem is Brian was mentioning with the negotiations, Iran can't communicate, first of all, so they have to go back and forth and try to find their supreme leader without being caught and without being traced.
Handwritten notes.
Yeah, the senior leader is nowhere to be seen. And number 3, there's that power struggle between the Iranian parliament speaker, Gallup, and the IRG. He wants diplomacy and negotiations mixed with military strength, and apparently the IRCG is opposed to talks completely, Lawrence.
Yeah, so the regime is in total chaos. They have no leadership right now. No one is really in control. It looks like the supreme leader is still wounded, battered. They can't communicate by cell phones because the Israelis and the Mossadists take over that. The pagers just don't work for them as well. They're pretty much down to carrier pigeons. They can't use boats. They can't use drones to communicate. And so what you have now is that the people with the guns now are controlling the operation. Now, the president wants to have this debate and allow them to get their act together. It looks like the Pakistanians are trying to convince the political leadership as well as the military leadership to get on the same page. But at some point, the president is going to lose his patience. And I think we're going to be right back to the battlefield, guys.
How inappropriate was Senator Chris Murphy yesterday? First off, you know about his comments in Barcelona when he went off the map, addressing a bunch of socialists, ripping our country, saying we're run by a dictator. Governor Waltz, even more embarrassing, really to himself, he just doesn't realize it, ripping our country, saying the most horrific things, saying our president basically has lost his mind, judging by the guy that he was trumpeting, Joe Biden. He was the biggest defender of Joe Biden. This guy goes to Barcelona and rips our president. And then you have Chris Murphy. When the Iranians came out and they said at least 20, and they put this out, at least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypassed the U.S. blockade, Murphy put this on a retweet. He wrote, awesome.
He wrote awesome and got backlash from both sides, Democrats and Republicans. The Pentagon said, first of all, that report is completely false. Then they called Murphy's reaction shameful. Senator John Cornyn and the libs of TikToks, they accused Murphy of being a traitor and for rooting for Iran. And that's what we've heard from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. He keeps saying, whose side are you on? As Americans, you shouldn't be rooting for Iran. You should be rooting for our country, even if you didn't vote for the president. But then, Lawrence, what did he do? How did he try to fix this yesterday?
Yeah, so after all the pushback, because many Americans are outraged, many people in the military are outraged, and reporters are asking him, what did you mean by this? And he said that it was all sarcasm. Here he is.
Twitter's become kind of a cesspool. I probably should give up on sarcasm on Twitter. Obviously, anybody that's seen anything that I have said about Trump's war knows that I think it's bungled, mismanaged, and he should end it as quickly as possible. But sarcasm is not something, I guess, that's allowed on Twitter any longer.
Lawrence, it had nothing to do with Twitter. This has nothing to do with X at all. That's your comment. And if it was an anomaly, where'd that come from? No, that's exactly what he says. If you watch both senators from Virginia, if you watch him, Senator Kelly from Arizona, and if you see Chris Murphy, he's by far the worst. They are actually seemingly cheering for Iran, making sure that any type of Iran defiance is underlined and highlighted. And talking about this war being bungled from the day it started and saying it never should have happened when they're already on the record talking about Iran needed to be addressed in a nuclear program that can't take root. So I don't buy for 1 second that this is sarcasm.
Yeah, I think what happened is he got pushback from both sides, realized this was so anti-American. He probably sat with his team and said, okay, what should I say? And then they said, well, you could say it was sarcasm. And yeah, let's go with that one.
But see, I didn't see any Democrat pushing back. Maybe Fetterman, who went out of his way.
Fetterman said that he was really the only Democrat that was supporting this and what was happening. And if you watch other networks, they're all complaining about how long this is taking. And Donald Trump, 2 days ago.
It's not.
Go ahead, Lawrence. Well, I was just going to say, Donald Trump put on X how long all of the wars have taken. Years and years and years. This has been a few weeks.
The thing is that he may have put that on X, but he's not the only one that's rooting against the military and the president during this operation. We see it on the Sunday shows. We see it every night on the other networks saying that we're not winning, that the president is trapped, that the president has panicked, that he's caved. They're making jokes about it. So, again, as I've said since the beginning of this conflict, what do you think the men and women that are fighting overseas, that their families that watch these programs every single night, what do they think about this? Do you not think they're perturbed that you're painting this military success so far as some type of win for the Iranians? I mean, just to be clear, most of these programs have been going with Iranian propaganda. Every time Iran puts something out and the president puts something out, they say Iran is right. So, again, that's what we're working with.
Right. We got to just find a way to neutralize that mosquito navy that Iran has. And at the same time, they want us to end the blockade. We're not ending the blockade. So we'll see when J.D. Vance is going to make that 18-hour trip over to Pakistan.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.